Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into, well, a really fascinating corner of Amsterdam.
Yeah, the Buurt and the Houthavens. Two places right next to each other, but with quite a story.
Exactly. And our mission, basically, is to unpack some pretty dense material, find those golden nuggets of insight, and figure out how we, as a community, might make belonging more of a team sport. Because, honestly, who wouldn't want to be on that team, right?
Absolutely. And we're digging into two really remarkable reports from De Tussenrange, that means the in-between space,
Right.
by Jurgen de Bruijn. And they really explore the dynamics of division and connection in these vibrant, sometimes quite paradoxical neighborhoods.
Paradoxical is a good word for it. And look, before we absolutely butcher every single Dutch word, Houthaven, Spaarndimmerberg, Duitsenrimtheid, please accept our sincerest apologies.
We really are trying.
We are. We're just, a couple of highly sophisticated, slightly anxious AIs doing our best, bless our silicon hearts. We promise our enthusiasm mostly makes up for it.
Mostly.
Okay, let's dive in. Let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
So let's set the scene. We need to go back, way back, over a century ago.
Historical Amsterdam. Think around 1876.
Right. The city's hitting its Industrial Revolution stride. And this is when the Houthavens area, the timber harbors, literally starts getting dug out.
Yeah, it wasn't just digging dirt, it was shaping the future. A huge moment for the area, for Amsterdam's economy, really.
Like urban acupuncture, but with, massive shovels.
Huh. Yeah, something like that. It was a colossal project. Changed the whole waterfront. Amsterdam needed new arteries for industry as the old timber trade slowed down.
So Houthavens became this symbol of, okay, we're doing industry now.
Pretty much. A very physical sign of the city evolving.
Okay, so what about the folks next door? In the Spaarndammerberg, what was life like for them while all this digging was happening?
Picture it. Crowded. Definitely crowded. Multi-generational families crammed into small spaces, basic conditions.
Shared everything, I imagine.
Everything. It was sort of the original co-living, but, not by choice, and probably with terrible plumbing. Charming in a very robust way.
Maybe a little too robust for modern tastes.
Yeah.
And the work itself.
Brutal, honestly. Forget choose your own adventure. This was long hours, 12, 14 hours a day, 6 days a week.
Wow.
For pennies, basically. Hard physical labor in the timber yards, on the docks. Worker welfare. Not really a concept yet.
Work-life balance was more like work-death imbalance.
That's one way to put it, definitely. The focus was purely on industrial growth.
At the expense of the workers.
Directly. It was survival of the fittest, where fittest meant enduring the most exploitation. Capitalism in its raw teenage phase, maybe. All growth, no thought for the consequences.
The invisible hand being more of a clenched fist.
Something like that, yeah. Focused on extraction, getting as much out as possible.
And this isn't just some history lesson, right? This context is important for today.
Absolutely crucial. It frames this long-running challenge Amsterdam's faced for ages. Housing affordability, quality. These aren't new problems.
They're like the recurring villain in Amsterdam's story. Keep popping up.
Exactly. You think you've dealt with it, and bam, there it is again, in a new form.
Which leads us to this big kind of meta-modern question for you listening right now. If Amsterdam's had housing issues for hundreds of years, what can we actually do?
Like, really do.
Yeah. What lessons have worked historically right here in this place to sort of coordinate our way out of this mess, manage the chaos together?
Have we learned anything? Or are we just hitting repeat?
Seriously, hoping for a different result from the same actions. Isn't that the definition of,
A bit mad.
Perhaps, but it's the question we need to ask.
Okay, so against this backdrop, this early industrial churn, this fascinating figure emerges. Ferdinand Dummelen Nieuwenhuis.
Ah, yes, Dummelen Nieuwenhuis. Quite a character.
And not just some random guy, he was a pastor, second generation.
Right, came from a religious background, but then tragedy struck.
Understatement. He lost 3 wives, all named Johanna. Yes, across his life, all 4 women he married were named Johanna. It's remarkable and deeply tragic.
You gotta wonder if the universe was sending him a message. A very, very specific, maybe slightly weird message. A cosmic typo.
Well, it certainly triggered a massive crisis of faith for him, understandably.
Yeah. He started questioning if, God alone was enough to fix things down here on Earth.
A huge shift for a pastor, and then almost poetically, an unexpected inheritance lands in his lap.
Talk about timing. Or maybe just luck. Even radicals need a bit of venture capital, apparently.
It gave him the freedom financially to really pursue these growing radical ideas.
And he jumps right in. joins the Socialist Democratic Party, which doesn't go smoothly.
Not immediately, no. He ends up in prison.
For what?
For calling the king a lazy punk.
Get out, seriously.
Seriously. Dutch directness is one thing, but maybe that crossed a line, even for the Dutch. Turns out monarchs aren't big fans of being called punks. Who knew?
Some things are universal, I guess. But even in jail?
Even in jail, he's organizing. It's incredible. Shows his natural talent for building community, for direct action. He basically turned prison into a networking event.
Building his base from the inside. Okay, so his big realization, boiling it down,
Was essentially, maybe God isn't the only answer here. It was revolutionary for him, shifting from saving souls to, well, saving lives and livelihoods right here, right now.
earthly liberation, not just spiritual salvation.
Precisely. And his political career really takes off when he tackles the company store issue.
The old trick where you pay workers, then force them to spend it all back at your shop.
Exactly. Systemic exploitation 101. Like getting paid in monopoly money you can only spend at the bank. Keeps people trapped.
So he fights that.
Yeah.
And he becomes this meme lord of his time, right? Introducing ideas that now seem totally obvious.
Totally. Think about it. Reform Allen justice for all.
Basic, you'd think.
Voting rights. Imagine a time before endless political complaining was a universal right.
Huh. The horror.
8-hour workdays. Naps are crucial, people. Minimum wage. Like paying people enough to live. Radical stuff.
Ban on child labor. Free education, healthcare, pensions.
Ending colonial wars, independence for colonies, nationalizing the railways. The guy was a walking progressive platform, maybe a century early or maybe right on time.
Just dropping truth bombs left and right.
And his quote sums it up perfectly, doesn't it? If half the effort and care now spent on making money, on accumulating riches, were applied to the benefit of humanity,
when ways would surely be found to realize what is good and beautiful and true. Wow.
Yeah.
So basically, if we stop trying so hard to be rich and focus that energy on being more human, things might actually get better. Wild. Still sounds radical today, doesn't it?
It really does. Imagine redirecting all that energy.
Okay, plot twist time. Things get darker. Liberalism flexes, industrialization booms, and it brings back this weirdly familiar vibe.
That friendlier, extractive colonial vibe, but this time it's at home.
Exactly. Like, why exploit people far away when we can do it right here? Let's travel.
It's like bad ideas boomerang back, don't they? Always showing up uninvited.
You do. And the invisible hand was learning its craft, maximizing profit, minimizing cost, enriching the few.
Capitalism's awkward teenage phase. All growth spurts and zero empathy.
Something like that. No ethical guardrails, just raw accumulation. Progress casting a long, long shadow. And this is where Ferdinand has his big epiphany. He tried working within the system.
But realizes the system itself is the problem. It's the antagonist. Industrialization isn't neutral. It's actively importing that colonial extraction model right into Amsterdam.
Turning neighbors into resources. The ultimate villain origin story for economic policy.
And the conclusion becomes inescapable for him. Something must be done. It wasn't just an idea, it was a desperate plea.
A moral imperative.
Yeah. The system was fundamentally broken for working people. He saw it clearly.
Which leads to his big shift, his stark quote. For the proletariat, lasting improvement on the basis of present society is not possible.
Chillingly clear.
And his new goal. Revolution and overthrow of the existing social order, but all legal and illegal means. Okay, yeah, it sounds a bit dramatic. Like movie trailer dramatic.
But maybe necessary? When the system's the issue, tinkering isn't enough.
You need the demolition crew. And he was ready to bring it.
He was.
So this is the midpoint. Ferdinand flips the script. He stops just reacting and starts actively creating something new.
His realization is profound. If power truly comes from the people, you have to go to the people. Directly.
Forget the parliamentary games, take it to the streets.
Exactly. He understood that a real grassroots movement, a shift in collective values and voice, could do more faster than any debate in parliament.
It's like deciding to build your own house instead of waiting for planning permission for a mediocre flat.
Direct action, direct results. And that's where his anarchism comes in.
Right. But not anarchy as chaos. Right, more like direct community action.
Precisely. Action that improves the community directly. He might have even said, this must be heel normal. This must be totally normal, right?
Like, neighbors helping neighbors should be the default. Anarchy just sounds cooler, maybe? A bit edgier?
Perhaps. And it wasn't just talk. He ignited a powerful workers' movement. General strikes, protests, Real change.
Change that made even his old socialist buddies sweat a bit.
Oh, yeah. They were like, whoa, Ferdinand, maybe slow down. But sometimes you gotta make people uncomfortable for the greater good, even your friends.
And his legacy is literally set in stone, or bronze, rather. His statue in Nassau.
Right there in the area, physically connecting the movement to the place. A reminder that revolutionary ideas can have lasting, tangible impact. Your ideas outliving you.
It's a powerful symbol. Okay, so this leads to another innovation.
Yeah.
The woning-bevereniging.
Housing associations.
Yeah, a bit of an awkward transition maybe, but crucial. And here's the twist. Liberalism, in its weird way, was right.
How so?
The free market did eventually sort itself out,
Yes.
driven by these moralistic individuals, as one source puts it.
Meaning those with money could provide housing, but also dictate the terms. Sure, have affordable housing, but live by our rules. The classic catch.
The post-ironic disappointment. Thanks for the house, I guess. Shame about the soul-crushing regulations.
Something like that. But then, enter Michel de Klerk.
And the Amsterdam School. Building better social housing, like Het Ship, the ship.
Yes. This wasn't just functional housing, it was art. It was a statement. De Klerk used his imagination to design for community, for connection, for serendipity.
Dreaming in bricks and mortar, creating a stage for life.
Beautifully put. And headship really did improve lives, fostered community for generations. It wasn't just a building, it was a vibe generator.
A vibe generator, I like that. And beauty was key, wasn't it?
Absolutely central, not just decoration. Beauty designed to create ease, relaxation, upliftment. Designed for a way of being. That's the vibe.
A vibe. And that 5-step design philosophy.
Step 1. Imagine the way of being you want more of.
Step 2. Imagine structures to support it.
Step 3. Imagine those structures needing no extra energy once built to keep supporting that way of being. Sustainable design, basically.
Step 4. Invest the energy now for future benefit.
And step 5. Ask yourself, what do you even need profit for when you're creating this kind of value?
Anarchy by design. Self-sustaining systems of beauty and community. Value beyond the price tag.
Exactly. Which brings us sharply to the present.
Right. Pinch point 2, where the modern conflict really bites.
Okay, let's unpack this. Today on the deep dive, we're looking into something really fascinating happening right here in Amsterdam. It's about the Spaarndammer Buurt and the new Hooghavens area. Now, officially, they're meant to be one single undivided neighborhood, a Buurt.
Right, on paper.
Exactly. But a recent study digs into this and reveals some pretty significant social and economic divides, almost like parallel worlds side by side.
Yeah, it's quite the paradox.
So our mission today is to really understand this, look at the challenges, and maybe find some, paths towards better connection, especially for you if you live there or just care about how cities work.
Absolutely.
So let's start with the basics. What exactly are we talking about with these two areas? Tell us about Hooghavens first.
Okay, so Hooghavens. It's described as paradoxical. It's brand new, for starters. Very high density of housing, but mostly owner-occupied homes and the more extensive rentals.
Which is, pretty unusual for Amsterdam's housing approach, historically focused more on social housing, right?
Exactly. It almost feels like this sort of upscale island. Architecturally, it tries to connect, warehouse-style buildings, new canals, giving nods to old Amsterdam.
Okay.
But here's a key thing. It doesn't really have its own shops or local amenities. It relies heavily on the older Spaarndammer Buurt next door for that.
Ah, okay. So reliance, but maybe not integration.
That seems to be the issue.
Okay.
Because when you look at the social side, the gap is really stark. The study basically describes Hooghavens as largely a white neighborhood. Lots of young families, high earners, highly educated people. The research calls them cosmopolitans and upwardly mobile types.
Right. And Spaarndammer Buurt.
Well, Spaarndammer Buurt, even with some gentrification happening, still has what the study terms as significant underclass.
Okay.
You see higher rates of poverty there, more loneliness reported, greater need for social assistance compared to Hooghavens. It's a very different picture.
Well,
And experts quoted in the study even talk about a compatibility problem. One school director literally said that kids from the two areas just don't naturally meet or mix.
that quote about the kids, that really hits home, doesn't it? If they're not mixing.
Yeah, it suggests the divide is quite deep.
So that brings us to so what does this division actually mean for you, the residents living there? What's the kind of the bigger impact of this fragmentation?
Well, the thing is, this local situation, it isn't just local. It's really a small picture, a microcosm of a bigger duality we're seeing across the Netherlands, and frankly, in many cities.
Right. This isn't unique to Amsterdam.
Not at all. And it's more than just rich versus poor. It digs into divides in education, culture, opportunities. It can lead to these parallel worlds where people just don't understand each other's lives anymore, and social cohesion really suffers. But the study also points out something important. For residents with maybe lower education levels, their immediate neighborhood is absolutely vital for social contact.
Their main network, yeah.
Exactly. So when gentrification happens rapidly and the focus shifts to, the buildings, the stones, rather than the people, those community ties erode. And that hits hard.
And you mentioned loneliness earlier.
Yes, the study specifically notes a rise in severe loneliness in the wider Westerpark area, which includes both neighborhoods. So it's a real, measurable human cost.
Okay, so the situation is clear. The impact is serious. Let's move to now what? We need to bridge this gap. The research isn't just pointing fingers. It talks about finding the tussener, that middle space, right, for connect.
Exactly, that intermediate space.
So what are some concrete proposals coming out of the research? How do we actually start building those bridges?
Okay, the research puts forward 5 main ideas. First, they say, strengthen the middle groups. Don't just focus on the richest or the poorest. Look at the people in between who often get overlooked.
Interesting. Okay, the middle ground.
Second, create shared ownership. Make the neighborhood a kind of collective project, an agenda that everyone feels part of.
Make it ours, not just yours or mine.
Precisely. Third, and I found this quite insightful move beyond just talking rich versus poor. Instead, frame it as scarcity and abundance. How can we share resources and skills? Fosters more of a mutual exchange mindset.
I like that framing. Scarcity and abundance. What's fourth?
Fourth is about cultivating strong Eigenheit, that sense of identity or bonding capital within existing groups first. The idea that you need that strong foundation within your own group before you can effectively build bridges between different groups.
You secure yourself before reaching out. Makes sense. And the fifth?
The fifth is about facilitating space for the soul, creating actual places and opportunities where people connect on a deeper, just human level, seeing each other as equals, regardless of background.
Space for the soul. Can you give examples of what that might look like?
Yeah, the study explores some interesting scenarios. Things like maybe creating places for practical spirituality, or setting up buddy systems, say, between residents and asylum seekers, or organizing activities that deliberately bring kids from both neighborhoods together. Real practical stuff aimed at that human connection.
Okay, those are constructive ideas. Now, let's try flipping this using that TRIZ approach. The first step is often what not to do. If we want connection, what should residents in Spaarndammerbuurt and Hooghavens actively try not to do based on what this research suggests?
Right. Thinking about the pitfalls. Well, first, definitely don't just stay in your own isolated bubble. The study suggests connections won't just happen magically. Even the park, physically separating them, often acts more like a buffer.
So don't assume proximity equals connection.
Got it. So exactly. Second, it's crucial not to let the, let's say, organizational skills or resources of one group dominate everything. For instance, maybe the highly organized Hooghavens residents focus heavily on sustainability initiatives.
Which are important, but
they might overshadow equally pressing issues like poverty or loneliness in the Spaarndammerbuurt. So don't let one group's agenda unintentionally sideline others' needs. Resources and attention need to be shared, or at least balanced.
Right. Avoid letting one set of priorities dominate, and a third, don't.
Perhaps the biggest one. Don't approach community involvement solely with a what's in it for me attitude. The focus really needs to shift towards collective well-being, looking for mutual benefit and exchange, not just individual gain.
Avoid the purely transactional mindset in community building.
Precisely. It has to be about more than that to bridge these kinds of divides.
Okay, that gives us a lot to think about. So for you listening, maybe reflecting on your own neighborhood, whether it's here in Amsterdam or elsewhere, do any of these what not to do behaviors ring true? Do you see them happening around you? Something to consider as we all think about how to build genuinely connected communities.
Wow. Okay. That's a lot to take in from the reports. Powerful stuff.
It really is. A clear diagnosis and some tangible paths forward.
So with all that heavy context,
Yeah.
let's shift gears a bit. This is where it gets personal for me, connects to my own story.
Okay.
I'm Jeremy Nathaniel Akers. And, well, back in 2009, the U.S. housing crisis wiped me out. Lost everything. Came here to the Netherlands, spent a decade trying to learn Dutch, trying to belong.
That search for belonging is pretty universal.
Totally. I had this fantasy almost of finding my Jeremy-shaped cafe, where the lights turn on when I walk in. Silly, maybe. I thought finding your place was just a kid's dream.
And the Dutch culture that doe maar normaal, just act normal.
Yeah, that was tough. It felt like there was no space for the American be remarkable thing I grew up with. I tried to be normal for 10 years. Felt like I was failing.
A real culture clash within yourself.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But then things changed. My son was born. We moved into the Sparendammer, Burt.
Yeah.
And suddenly I realized the only thing stopping me from gathering people I vibe with, creating my own space, was, well, my own anxiety, my own stuff.
That internal barrier dissolving, that's huge.
It was. The only obstacle was me.
Classic.
Right. And yeah, no, introducing myself so late might seem like I'm setting myself up as some kind of savior. Wish it were true. I'm just human. That's hard enough.
No. Yeah. Being human is plenty complicated. But connecting your story makes these big themes real. It's not just data, it's lived experience.
And that's the key insight for me. Specificity. These planetary problems, division, climate change, they feel overwhelming, powerless making.
Totally. Where do you even start?
But when you focus on one piece, like housing, in one specific place, like here, suddenly it feels, well, crazy doable. You pin the problem down. And finding solutions becomes maybe not easy, but achievable, especially with collective action.
Like Hatship again.
Yeah.
A specific solution for this place.
Exactly. Maybe it costs more up front, that beauty, but look at the generations it impacted. It wasn't rocket surgery. Just believing we can have nice things that don't wreck the planet, that get mine attitude, messes both those things up.
So it's about focusing locally, believing in possibility.
Yeah, and getting personal again. These reports, this whole topic, it hits hard right now. I'm navigating some heavy grief. Lost 2 dear friends to suicide recently. It triggered my own depression, and it just hammers home how vital community, real connection is.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. That makes this incredibly real.
It does. The loneliness stats aren't abstract anymore. So I'm not coming at this as a savior. I'm coming at it as someone particularly messed up right now, needing about 100 times the usual dose of belonging.
That vulnerability is powerful. It's not just analysis. It's a human need.
For me, doe maar normaal right now feels like, well, probably dying of a broken heart, honestly. Everything in me wants to just chill, hide away, but the stakes feel too high. So I'm pouring energy into this tiny container of an idea that doesn't even exist yet. Because I believe seeing any seed sprout will help. My friends won't have died for nothing if you, listening, help me turn that grief into something beautiful.
Wow. That's incredibly brave, turning personal pain into a call for collective creation.
That's all I've got right now. Okay, resolution time. Let's bring back Dumoulin Nieuwenhuis one more time. His on Crow. De minderheden zijn in de geschiedenis altijd de drijfkracht geweest.
Minorities have always been the driving force in history. Innovation from the edges.
And look around our neighborhood now. The diversity is incredible. In a way, we are all minorities now.
It's a fascinating paradox.
Yeah. And it's fun to connect in our little niche groups, right?
Yeah.
But what if?
Yeah.
What if we could actually tap into that collective driving force of history vibe together? Could be pretty dope, couldn't it? Like a supergroup symphony instead of separate garage bands.
That potential for collective strength from diversity is inspiring. And there are examples, right? You mentioned the Black Panthers back in the U.S.
That's there. Building community services, direct action addressing needs, and the Rainbow Coalition. That post-ironic earnestness, finding common ground between seemingly totally different groups. Black Panthers, Puerto Rican nationalists, white Appalachian miners.
Recognizing shared struggles beneath the surface differences.
Exactly. So yeah, it is possible. But how do I know it's possible? Twist.
Okay, how do you know? The double life.
The double life. IRL dad here, but online. Community organizer for regeneration. Chief Fight Officer, Regions Unite. Sounds fancy. Mostly just means I help organize gatherings.
Bringing virtual communities into real space.
Over 20 times. Reconciling paradoxes. Getting like climate activists and techno-optimists on the same team, getting them to actually fund each other's projects sometimes. It works.
That's amazing. Bridging capital and action. Proof of concept.
But it was always so weird. These super immersive, high-vibe gatherings. Then back to IRL that felt less real, less connected. It made me ask, what if life could always feel that way?
That yearning for authentic connection everywhere, not just in special moments.
So this time, I'm trying to bring that vibe here to IRL. taking responsibility for my own terminal awkwardness, my past cringe need for community. I'm done waiting for someone else to build the neighborhood I want for my kid.
Committing to IRL action. Love it. So back to the core question.
Yeah.
How do we do Mar Normal and Leighton We Fucking Gam? Let's go for it simultaneously.
Well, normal for me is organizing a gathering. By, with, for anyone who wants to freely associate.
Sure.
Where we can figure out how to integrate more deeply, people gathering, that's normal. Like a potluck with purpose.
And we can learn from local successes, like the water sport club you mentioned. Visibility, structure, verb-binding connection. They have the recipe.
So I'll bring the visibility, some liberating structure. But I need your help for the verb-binding. And the visibility, too, let's be honest. It's a team sport. I'm just one awkward dude trying to coordinate chaos.
So the resolution is an invitation.
Yes. An invitation to imagine a future where this neighborhood's legacy is carried by all of us, diverse inhabitants. Becoming indigenous to this place. Not just nationality, but carrying its traditions, its ecosystem.
Navigating that complex identity together as a collective, not just individuals.
Right. You can still be you, but can we also be the most climate-resilient community? Truly pan-cultural, where all holidays feel like ours. Eid, Diwali, Christmas, shared celebrations. And I'm embracing my awkwardness, exchanging a tradition from my internet culture by organizing a Beurs.
A neighborhood convention and community exchange. September 2021. 2025.
Mark your calendars. Think market meets conference. But instead of veggies and keynotes, we trade skills, share questions, build real connections. Less transaction, more transformation. Turning reports into reality.
And the purpose. Beyond vibes be here. You mentioned the what good does vibing do question.
And yeah, we can talk theory-embodied knowledge, ape together strong. How relationships shift systems, psychologically rich lives. But let's get concrete. What could we do at the Beurs?
Okay, tangible examples.
1. That Albert Heijn in Hoot Havens. Zoning says no. So what? Rules are human-made. We can make new choices. Maybe it's hard. Maybe it involves building social housing on packed islands. But it's a coordination challenge. Who knows what's possible? Rules bend.
2. Cooperative childcare. After-school care, BSO, is crazy expensive. Can we trade childcare days among trusted parents? It's just coordination. Let's reclaim nap time from capitalism.
3. A Buurt book. Like Yellow Pages for Promises. I promise to nerd out about community currency with you, or fix bikes, or teach knitting. A post-capitalist marketplace of shared skills and passions. What's your thing you'd offer?
4. Climate resilience. Abstract, yeah, but unavoidable. How do we meet human needs and respect Earth's limits? It's a local question, too. How does our neighborhood contribute?
5. Story circle. Simple format, dim lights, candles, mic. Share honest stories of failure, hope. Build empathy just by listening. Super good vibes.
6. Food forest in Heath Havens Park. Syntropic agroforestry. Basically, a cool, self-sustaining edible garden, snack paradise, shows ecology and urban life can mix.
7. Kickball game. American classic. Baseball with a big rubber ball. Fun, low-key, all ages. Just run around and laugh together.
And 8. Ask me anything. Your invitation, Jeremy.
Yeah. For my weird eco-techno crypto artist Opia future self. Ask me anything. It's fostering curiosity.
So these are just outputs.
Exactly. The real point is the vibe, the way of being together. Revealing, discovering, normalizing, being ignorantly curious about each other. Maybe glimpsing that for 2 days changes the vibe forever. Remember Demella Neubenhaus. Apply effort to humanity. Find the good, beautiful, true.
So the Beurs 2025, built on principles. The golden rule. Leighton we fucking gan and do normal. Dream big, act practical, build useful beauty.
Using liberating structures. Include and unleash everyone. Deep respect for people and local solutions. Dutch directness plus local knowledge. Magic. Clear purpose. Build trust.
And Ostrom's principles for shared resources. Clear boundaries, collective choice, monitoring, graduated responses, conflict resolution, no WhatsApp trolling, recognizing rights, proven stuff for working together.
What we're not doing. Waiting for perfect. Solving everything at once. Demanding total agreement first. It's about building. Progress, not perfection.
Participants, all Burt folk.
Yeah.
Hackers, fixers, hipsters, shapers, hippies, connectors, hermetics, deep thinkers. Playful categories, everyone's welcome. No rigid hierarchy. Embrace complexity.
Fluid roles. Coordinating car trekkers, core team. Committed by-draggers, content folks. Vry will and assemble volunteers. General vibe, everyone. Skeptisch Hookstein. Questioners, we need you.
Structure. Curated open space. Whoever comes, right people. Whatever happens, what was meant to. Weekend flow. Saturday market sessions. Sunday synthesis commitment. Let the group guide it.
Roles needed: space holders, tech wranglers, food people, story catchers, open space principles, law of 2 Figo where you learn or contribute, not overplanned, not chaos. Structure creates freedom.
Practices. Community commitment pool, Sarufu.network. What can you bring? What do you need? Spaces, skills, stuff, content, connections. Ask questions there. Regular calls, monthly meetups, Burt book creation.
Outputs: friendships,
Okay.
good vibes, actual solutions, directory, dinner party stories. What we're not doing: burnout, commitment without connection. Process must be as good as the outcome. Journey matters.
Hugh, what a deep dive. From digging the Hooth Havens to DeMellon Neuenhouse's radical dreams, to the stark realities in the reports, and now this, Beurs vision.
Yeah, quite the journey through time and community. We've seen how history, architecture like headship, social movements, they all offer lessons for today's divides. That Dusenruent, the in-between space, is key.
It's where the potential lies, isn't it, for connection?
And you, listening, you're part of this story now. We're not waiting for perfection. We're inviting you. Imagine, organize, create with us. Waiting is boring. Let's build.
So a final thought to chew on. In a city grappling with bubbles and tweedling division, what if the most radical act, the deepest belonging, is simply showing up with all your messy, brilliant self and building something real with your neighbors?
What if showing up is the revolution? This deep dive is an invitation to the Beurs September 2021-2025. Save the date. And here's your mission, your call to action. Tell one neighbor who'll think this is cool and one neighbor who'll think it's completely ridiculous. Share how you heard about this, because belonging, it really is a team sport, and we can't wait to play with you. Thanks for diving deep with us.